Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining. My name is Danielle Coe. I'm the CEO and founder of Black Women in Clinical Research. Black Women in Clinical Research mission is to educate, empower, support, and help Black women thrive in the clinical research industry. Tonight, we are going to be talking with Dr. Richmond, and our title tonight is Physician and PI, Why Doctors Should Consider a Career in Clinical Research. So I'm going to have Dr. Richmond introduce herself. Dr. Richmond.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure to be a part of this group, and I've learned so much. And I'm always so impressed with the I Got the Job post. It's so inspiring. And so, again, I am Dr. Teriya Richmond. I am a board-certified family medicine physician, as well as now a clinical researcher and the chief medical officer of AIDS Foundation Houston. I hail from Chicago and went to medical school at the University of Illinois in Rockford, got married, and then came back home to Chicago at UIC to pursue my master's of public health. And then I came to Houston to pursue my residency in family and community medicine at Baylor. I have now been a doctor, I guess, a practicing physician, a little over 10 years or so. And it's so funny because the patients keep asking me how old I am, but I'm old enough to be a doctor. So I have. I initially started out in academic medicine as an associate professor for about 7 years in women's health at UT, or University of Texas. And then I transitioned back to Baylor for about 1.5 years before I went into private practice. And I was in a group private practice for about 3 years. And then I decided to fly solo in January of 2020, just before COVID. The pandemic, and I have not only a family medicine practice. We have about 80% women. My clinic is located in 3rd Ward, Houston, which is a historically African American community, and I want to y'all to pin that because it's one of the benefits, and one of the benefits to myself, and one of the benefits to my patients and the community, to be able to do clinical research in the community. So my patients, they don't have to go to some huge academic center, which most of them don't anyway, because, and we'll talk about some of that in a moment, because I am across the highway from the world's largest medical center, and the patients don't like to go there. And so again, I'll go over some of the reasons why that is and why it's so important for physicians and physicians in private practice, and physicians of color specifically should participate in clinical research. So a little bit on the so that's my introduction. Danielle, did you have anything else before I kind of get on my soapbox?
Nope, I'll let you get on your soapbox, and then I'll ask some questions.
Okay, absolutely. So I wanted to start out with my commitment is to our community. My commitment is to bring evidence-based medicine to our community in a culturally sensitive and compassionate manner. And so I also I like for that to cross over into clinical research as well. So my wellness center is very welcoming. We want our patients to feel better than when they came in, even if we don't do anything, but just smile and thank them for coming. And that's so important because unfortunately, as we see over time, even as we look at Black maternal health, that we still are fighting a fight of trying to get equal and accessible healthcare, and then also being represented in clinical research. So with that being said, minority patients are underrepresented in clinical trials, period. That's one sentence, period. And if I don't say anything else tonight, remember that, because that's the whole point. Not only are minority patients underrepresented in clinical trials, primary investigators We are far few and in between, and I'll go a little bit further into it from a physician's perspective, but I wanted to really talk about what it means to our community when it comes to clinical research. We know that minority patients typically respond differently to medications, and this is how we know that some medications work better. Clinical research is the reason why we know some medications work better for us than others. Some medications I know not to prescribe my patients because it's going to give them side effects that it may not give any other group, nationality, race. It's just, it is what it is. And the reason why we have those answers is because of clinical research. Also, we see that patients are underrepresented in clinical research because we don't have the people. We know, or at least I know, that when patients see people, when patients meet doctors that look like them, not only are they're more trusting, they actually do better when it comes to their long-term outcomes. So it's the same with clinical research. The more researchers that we have that look like us, the more likely that it is we can have fair representation in clinical research. So there was a study done at Tufts Center that supports these assumptions. And in that study, it also showed that minorities minorities as far as primary investigators are equally interested in clinical research as their white counterparts. So if we're equally as interested, then why don't we do it, right? So I can tell you, from a patient's perspective, it also parallels from physicians' perspectives. So lack of trust, lack of comfort with the process, lack of time and resources, or the perception of lack of time and resources, and lack of clinical trial awareness. So we see that that study showed that with the patients, but it also parallels with physicians, because I talk to other minority physicians, or I'm recruiting. So I work with Next Innovative Clinical Research, which is the SMO, that helps me with all of that, all the red tape, all the administrative work. Our company helps me with that because I'm seeing patients, I'm doing talks, and so I don't have a whole lot of time for all of the paperwork and everything, but that helps to keep me in line. So I wanted to go back to the lack of trust. So many minority physicians don't trust to work with a pharmaceutical company, or don't really trust to work with an academic institution for the same reasons patients don't want to do it. And so we have to become, when we do things like this, it helps to open up awareness. And for me, I don't just take any study just because it's a study and it's going to pay a lot of money. I want to see studies where when I'm having my meetings, where they are showing me that there may be some benefit to my patient population, to the people that I know who are coming. They're coming because Dr. Richmond said it's a study. Dr. Richmond said it might be beneficial to me. So I just don't cast my pearls to swine. I just don't, because at the end of the day, if my patients trust me, I'm here to protect them. And whomever is coming to participate in the trials, they are coming because there is a trusted relationship there. So I wanted to say that. And again, having a platform like this allows us to educate more, to help build trust and help physicians. So MDs and DOs see that that it's okay to do clinical research. Because I've gotten all kind of kickback about being a part of clinical research, or being a sub-I and clinical research, because of the perception and the lack of trust when it comes to working with a sponsor or working with an academic institution. And then the lack of comfort with the process. So again, like I said, I had to get help. Like I'm not ashamed at all to get help. I cannot do it all. And so if you're a medical student, if you're a resident, if you're a attending physician, there are resources to help you do everything that you need to do so that you stay within the guidelines, that you have your IRB approval. There are organizations that actually help with that. And being a part of this group, if that's something that you're interested in, just throw it out there. We're here, and we're here to help. And then lack of time and resources. So like I said, in particular, if you have a private practice, it's a little bit easier because you can set up your practice where you have your clinical time, which it needs to be separate. You have your clinical time for your actual practice, and then you have your clinical time for doing your participating in trials and doing research. And so what I've done is basically separated it out with one of my medical assistants who makes the schedule for clinic, and then one of my medical assistants who makes the schedule for research, and have those. We sometimes do both during clinic, but it's a separate process. So it's an opportunity. And then as far as lack of resources, you pretty much are using whatever you pretty much using what you have. And if you don't have it, the sponsors will help you to get what you need to get so that you can fully participate in the study. And then finally, what I wanted to, and then lack of clinical trial awareness. So I don't hear my colleagues like, oh, I'm gonna just go on clinicaltrials.gov and see what's going on. Like a lot of my colleagues have no idea what that is, how to, go on and look at it, or even to apply or have any inquiries. And so I'm trying to just educate as much as possible in the public, and then also in these forums. So being more aware, reading more about what are the benefits of clinical trials, and being a part of the clinical trial and being a primary investigator is key, because you just be really, really surprised at what you'll find out. And so some of the things you may find out is that, that there's academic studies, and then there's industry directed studies or sponsored led studies. And so both give you an opportunity to still work in your clinic, but for example, with the academics, you may have to do everything the big ones are Baylor, UT, and now the University of Houston College of Medicine. And with that, sometimes you have to follow everything that they want you to do, and you may have to sign on specifically with them. But if you have a private practice, you can pretty much, write your own ticket on how you want to conduct your research in your practice. And another benefit of being a PI is that you have opportunities for publishing, for doing presentations, becoming an expert in a specific field. And so I'm now going into, aside from the service of it, aside from being able to bring these opportunities to the community, and I forgot to say one other one, and being able to offer the patients new medications that they would not otherwise have exposure to is huge. I know one of she's not my patient, but she's in an organization that I'm on the board for called Angels Surviving Cancer. So she's a breast cancer survivor, but she did very well with a medication that if she had not participated in that trial, she would have never had exposure and treatment with that medication. And so she did very, very well. And Danielle and I talked, and so my grandmother was a breast cancer survivor as well. And so these topics are very important to me, because for her, at least at that time, I didn't know anything. I was a little girl, but I didn't know anything about clinical trials, and I know my family didn't. So yeah, and even if they did offer it, my family gonna be like, oh no, we don't want to try nothing new. Like, we're just going with what we know, right? And so that's where that education piece comes in, and that's where our representation matters. All right, now, and so also being able to publish, to give presentations, being able to build expertise, being able to build your curriculum vitae, your resume. I mean, in the medical field, you got to have your paper. Like, you got to have, like, honestly, you have to have your accolades. I would just put it out there. We have to be the best, right? Period. You don't get credibility by just not doing anything. And research, participating in research does help to build your credibility. It's not the only way, but it is one way. And then also, so I'm in private practice, and I'll share a little bit with you all about that. So I basically opened my clinic, not really knowing like who all would become a patient, but the clinic grew pretty fast over the last year. Now, there is this part of medicine. For me, all I wanted to do when I became a doctor, I just wanted to heal the world and make it a better place. I'm going to get this clinic, and I'm going to run my clinic how I want to, see my patients. If I want to sit with them for 40 minutes or 50 minutes or an hour, that's on me. Well, there's an other side of that. So the other side of that is the business side. And you get to understand why large institutions and large medical facilities, why the doctors are seeing their patients in 15 minutes, why the doctors are seeing 30, 40 patients a day, because you still gotta generate income. You still gotta make money. You can heal the world and make it a better place, but you can't keep your clinic open with that. You have to be able to recuperate money. So with that being said, there may be times where the insurance companies are, they're writing up reimbursements, they writing those checks. And there's other times they're like, denied, denied, denied. And honestly, that affects my bottom line. I have overhead. I have for like a 4,300 square foot facility. I have staff, got to keep the lights on. And so I'm saying that to say that with clinical research and being a PI, there are some financial benefits to it, point blank, period. And so you want to look at it from a business model as well, because research is not, well, you could, if you do something like with NIH, you may not, get regular grants all the time. But if you do some sponsor research, that income is not affected by if the insurance companies decide that they don't want to cover COVID testing anymore. So you have the balance of being able to run your practice and still generate income. And that's important. If you're looking to go on private practice and you think that, I'm just going to serve the people and I'm just going to be a good doctor and that's going to keep your doors open, you are sadly mistaken. So when we're looking at the benefits of, we talked about it from a service perspective, but I also want to talk about what it is for me as a doctor who has a private practice trying to keep the doors open as well. So there is there is a financial benefit to being a PI. And then also, there was another point okay. And then you get to be on the cutting edge of new treatments. I love to sit with sponsors and see, what they've been doing, what's on the horizon, what's new. For me, I just did a segment on the news about the new potential HIV vaccine. That is cutting edge, and to be able to be a part of research that's either preventing disease that was not necessarily preventable before, that can cure disease that previously didn't have a cure. For me, that gets me excited. And so being on the cutting edge is another benefit of being a physician and a primary investigator. And then so then you get to offer that to your patients and to those who would like to participate in the research that you're doing. And so I'm just really, really excited right now, because I'm family medicine. I get to I'm interested in different medical disease and prevention. So I'm real big on prevention. So, but right now I'm doing a study, an asthma study, a women's health breast cancer study, and we just closed out a COVID study. I'm thinking I'm missing one more, but that's ongoing at the same time while I'm running the clinic. So that's what I know. That was a mouthful. That's what I wanted to share. You all, if you have questions, and Danielle, if you want to go ahead and hit me with some questions, I'm an open book.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Richmond, for sharing. I do have some questions. So what can we do as a community, as an industry, I would say as Black women in clinical research, Black men in clinical research, and minorities in clinical research to attract more principal investigators, more doctors to clinical research?
So I think education is key. I think that uh, many doctors don't even know that it's an option. We didn't learn in medical school and even in residency. They may have been conducting studies, but we maybe have been used for labor and didn't know it. But we're not privy to that. That's not a segment that's taught while we're in medical school, while we're in residency. So I would say even starting early on while we're recruiting for recruiting kids that say, oh, I want to be a doctor, well, also considering being a scientist, right? So that, just kind of going that route, I think is good. I don't think that a lot of physicians think of themselves as scientists, but they really are. And so just kind of maybe changing the language and changing the language to say, you are a scientist. We're scientists. So how can you use that to help our community? And so again, I think it's more about education and doing talks like this because people really don't know.
Yes, absolutely. So can you tell me about, I guess, the process for you when you had like your first study? Like how was that? Was it difficult to get your first study, or was there any challenges that you had?
Okay, so I would say this. I'm a very kind of public person on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, but really on LinkedIn when it came to being recognized. So I will post all the time about everything that I was doing, and then also having Next Clinical also seeking out studies. And so now, well, the first one, I wouldn't say it was hard, but it took a little while. And then one day we got our first study and it just kind of, went from there. So I'm always getting calls or emails saying, hey, Dr. Richmond, I wanna talk with you. So I think it's more than anything putting yourself out there to say that you're interested, and they will come, especially because there is a shortage of minority physicians who are principal investigators.
Okay, thank you. So we have a question. Someone asks, what kind of kickback did you get from colleagues for participating in research?
Okay, so I will tell you this, in the academic environment, you're told not to, so some academic um, institutions, you can't go to farm dinners, you can't fraternize with pharmaceutical reps, you can't like get a pen, a hamburger, like nothing. You cannot participate with any type of pharmaceutical anything. And so coming as we're going through medical school and residency, this is ingrained in our heads. Like literally, we're taught finish medical school, finish residency, find you a good six-figure job and work your job until you can't work no more. And so that dynamic is changing. I feel like with the next generations coming up, and I may have been like the last generation. So that the kickback is, I don't want my patients or I don't want the community to feel like I am benefiting from pharmaceutical involvement. Point blank. Nope. I had a doctor tell me, nope, I don't, because y'all know that, they can go and look, the public can go and look and see how much money you make from a pharmaceutical company, right? How much, whether it's from research, whether you went to dinner, whatever, that is public, that's available to the public. And so the perception is, it's a negative perception, right? Because then people are like, oh, you just prescribing this medicine because you're going to get some money for this, and this the doctors. So we fight a very negative connotation when it comes to participating with pharmaceuticals, and it's just because this was just ingrained in us during, at least here in Texas, ingrained in us in medical school and residency.
That's true. I have heard that before, that some doctors, patients look at that differently if you are receiving a lot of money from the pharmaceutical companies, because they feel like, okay, well, you're only pushing this drug because you have to, because you have these, the pharmaceutical company telling you, get this out to as many people. And a lot of times I even know with cancer treatments and how much money people receive when, the oncology medicine. So I know that I guess I really haven't thought about that, but it definitely can be seen as a negative to the patients. Okay, so we have a question from Tamia. Tamia, would you?
Yeah, so my question was for students who are interested in like the research path, as well as, being a physician, like how would you suggest that they kind of get out there with research? Because I know nowadays, just being, a minority, it's hard to get the research experience. It's hard to like have those opportunities, so you're able to experience it, to know, okay, is this something I want to do? Is this the path that I kind of want to go on? So how would you recommend that at least, I guess, collegiate students can kind of like take advantage of opportunities if they are available to us?
Absolutely. So especially since I've been in Black women in clinical research, students have just been calling. Hey, Dr. Richmond, I hear you're doing research. I just want to come and hang out and see, what you do, how it works. So, and I don't know what area you are in, Tamia, but for sure, if you go on LinkedIn and you see that there is a physician scientist or researcher, just reach out and say, hey, not hey, but my name is Tamia and I'm interested in clinical research and I would love to shadow you for a couple of days, or I would love to volunteer. See, in medicine, a lot of times it's not what you know, it's who you know.
So I was going to say, Dr. Richmond, that's my fault if people have been reaching out.
Oh, yeah. No, they automatically say that.
Because when people tell me they're in Texas or they tell me they're near Houston, I'm like, oh, well, Dr. Richmond has a clinic there. Reach out to Dr. Richmond. But like Dr. Richmond said, and especially for me, because, when I was in college, I was like, oh, okay, I want to be a doctor. But, that didn't pan out for me. And so what I did in order to get into clinical research, I went on clinicaltrials.gov and I found the nearest clinics and I just started cold calling them and telling them, what I was interested in. A lot of times, we think that it has to be a complicated process and that we have to do so much and it has to be formal. But a lot of times, just if you reach out and tell people, this is what I'm interested, like if you're interested in medicine, tell them that you're interested in medicine and you want to see the clinical trial process. You want to see from start to finish. You want to see how they consent patients, knowing some of the information so that when you talk to these clinics that you can, like you're coming from a place of knowledge where you have a general understanding, but you know that you need to communicate with them to get that full foundation. So knowing some of those, keywords, those clinical research words, so that you can say, okay, I want to see the consent process, or I want to view the systems that you guys use. And, how do you determine which patients you're going to reach out to that qualify for clinical trials? So just having that, general knowledge and telling them. And so that, once you pretty much tell a clinic that, they're like, oh, okay, she is interested in clinical research and, why not give her a chance and come to the clinic? Because it really, really doesn't take a whole lot for someone to for you to shadow a person. And so that's how I started. I shadowed. And from there, I was able to get a position as a clinical research coordinator. And you can always use that experience when you're applying to medical school. So, that experience that you have is very important in the process. And a lot of times too, with the members in Black Women in Clinical Research, you can reach out to pretty much anyone in the group and ask them, for help, and ask, a lot of times you can reach out to people and just ask them, how did you get started in clinical research? Because 9 times out of 10, the people that you reach out to have stumbled into clinical research, or they have their own unique journey that they can share that information, to you, so that you can use that and develop your own plan, your own action plan, I should say, in order to get involved in clinical research.
And you know what else I was going to say besides that? There are free programs. So you Google pre-med interested in research. you'll get programs. I did when I was in undergrad, preparing to apply to medical school, I actually went to a summer enrichment program at the University of Pittsburgh, and it was paid, everything was paid. And we did clinical research with a principal, and I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, with the principal investigator, and you got to tell them like, what were you interested in? And they paired you with someone, and basically I spent time in the lab, which was fine. And then they pay for MCAT preparation. And then also we did some like biology courses, physics and things like that. So there's also free programs. Just you can look at the one at University of Pittsburgh, because I still believe they have it. Also the Medical Minority Enrichment Program, it's going to say, I think, SPEP, so they changed the name of it. But these are free programs for minorities. And listen, I grew up on the west side of Chicago. Y'all know about the west side of Chicago. It is a tough area. I grew up in the hood, right? And so my mom raised me and my brothers and I. And at some point, I can't remember when it was, I was like, you know what, I really do want to be a doctor. So my mother could not pay for me, because, you know, some of our non the minority peers, their parents pay for them to do MCAT prep. Well, we didn't have money for that. So in this tenacity and seeking opportunities will take you really far by starting to practice them now, because in medicine, a closed mouth don't get fed. So just Google and things will come up. Apply for them. Have your resume ready, or have your you can start writing your personal statement, but have a summary of why you're interested in clinical research, so you can have it, because this is, in general, this is what they're gonna ask. So get that all together and say, hey, hey, Dr. Richmond, I'm interested. I'm going to send over my resume and something like my personal statement, or why I want to be in clinical research. So, put yourself ahead of the game, and you never know what might come out of it. So we have one of the members here, she's working with us now. She's working with us on the asthma study, and she literally was like, and I think, Danielle, I believe you sent her, she was like, hey, Dr. Richmond, hello, Dr. Richmond. Don't be casual. Hello, Dr. Richmond, I'm in the Houston area. Is it okay if I just come to the clinic and see, what you do? And it opened up opportunity for her to work with us on the study. So yeah, you might have to be a little bit more assertive in your approach, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's funny. You said, I think we might have talked about this, but I think we did the same program at the University of Pittsburgh, because I did the program also there when I was like in my undergrad. But
yes,
those hills are terrible in Pittsburgh.
They really are.
Okay, so we have a couple of more hands up, and let's see, we'll switch off. Let me see. I know Andrika made a comment. Let me see. Are medical schools starting to change their curriculum to include clinical research courses? No.
Not that I know of. That's a whole separate ball game. You can do there's different fellowships and things like that you can do once you finish medical school or are in residency to get that experience. But as far as I know, typically, no. I'm thinking back. I think when I was in medical school, I might have did a literature review, and that was it. Yeah. So, and that's been a while back, but I'm an adjunct professor at the University of Houston College of Medicine, and I don't believe that all of the programs include that. But my student, she gets to participate with me, or she gets to see it because she's with me. But somebody did say that they are starting to incorporate research activities. I look at them more like it's like a public health project, which is to me a little bit different than clinical research, and maybe they've made it more streamlined. But yeah, like you might do a needs assessment, or maybe like a survey, or a what is it called, with the focus group, things like that. But actual working with a sponsor type of research, not that I know of, but I mean, it could be. And then some of the pharmaceutical companies do have fellowships. I know Gilead has a fellowship. If you're interested, if you're if you're on the pathway to medicine, they do have a fellowship that's available as well.
Yeah. Let's see. Apologies if I say your name incorrectly. Opiora?
Yeah, you got it right. My name is Opie. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Dr. Richmond, and thank you, Danielle, for putting this together. So just wondering, well, with residency, clinical research is taught, but not too much. Then clinical trial operation, we might not really get enough of it. I'm just wondering if there are resources or materials people should be, reading and educating themselves, prior to, heading out to maybe to someone like you to shadow. If you could just give us ideas about books to read or resources out there, apart from the formal training from maybe pharmaceutical industry. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Danielle, you can jump in too, but as I was preparing for this talk, I didn't even know this was like a thing, but as I was preparing for this talk, a whole Google list came up of links on how to be a PI.
Oh, wow.
You can Google it and read about it. The benefits of being a PI, the differences between the different types of studies. So I don't have the actual link. I can look that up if Danielle, if you have some input on that. But there's plenty of information out there. You just gotta I tell my patients don't do this, but you can Google it.
Yes. I'm about to say, my fiance tells me that all the time. Okay.
I want to look and see.
And you can include it in the chat too. I'm gonna take another
Okay.
question. Marshall.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for having this dialogue. I just want to start with that because it is extremely resourceful. So I really appreciate that. But I want to trace back to the negativity that you spoke about due to participating in clinical research. How did you combat that? Because my business partner and I, she's actually on the call, Ebony. We have a SMO that's pretty much in the startup phase in the Tampa Bay area. So we are like currently recruiting physicians to be PIs and just building our network. And we know that's something that we're going to face. So how did you combat that when, people brought that to you?
So one, for sure, I respect how people feel. If they say that they don't want to participate, I take that as an opportunity to educate. But if at some point they're adamant about it, I would just leave it alone. Okay. But I think what's really important to do is to offer some of the benefits like we just spoke about of because most doctors are not in medicine for the money, because y'all have no idea. For as much as we work, it's not all glam and glitz like it's portrayed on TV. And so many physicians go into medicine for the service. That's it. They just want to help people. And you might want to bring that perspective in, right? Especially if they are physicians of color. This is truly, honestly, it is another way to help advance our community. It's another way to, again, be on the cutting edge of medicine. It is a way to move our community forward, to give our patients a chance that they may have not otherwise received. And to me, it's also a way to protect. Again, like I said, for me, I don't just take any study just because it's going to pay good. Like, it has to have some substantial meaning. And if the sponsors are not interested in the patient population that I serve, then I'm not participating. So there's benefits outside of the financial that you get, but you cannot, you can't really say, oh, well, no, that's not public information, because it actually is. And so when you have it, when there's that concern for that perception, you just got to turn it around. This is really helping. It's not, I'm not harming anyone. The whole goal is to get our patients, our community, to have access just like everybody else. So that's my response to that.
That is perfect. Thank you so much. That's
You're
really,
welcome.
really helpful.
I know for me, and I don't know if this would be helpful too, I always share like the personal story with my father and with him having, high blood pressure, and how the doctors prescribed him with ACE inhibitors, and it caused, the adverse effect on him. And so, I always try and, let people know like, okay, this is why we need clinical trials, because of situations like this where family members that we have, and they, they're getting prescribed drugs that are causing these type of effects, and saying, just giving that personal story and letting them know, like for me, my father could have died because of his lips swelling up, and because his doctor thought, okay, this would be the right medicine for an African American male who has high blood pressure, but it's not the case. And a lot of times just trying to appeal to people and let them know, like, this is why we need to participate in clinical trials. So you might have been in a situation where you were okay, but what about someone else that, took the same medicine and, had some type of fatal or life-threatening reaction to the drugs? So I don't know if that's helpful to tell people, but I do feel like a lot of times when you share personal stories with people, they can relate to that, or they know someone who has cancer or has, so different things. So you can say like, okay, well, this is what occurred, or this is what happened. And just, just that human connection, I would say, appealing to people and the human connection.
Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. So we have really a statement in the audience for Teriya. A person said that Merck is hosting a 2021 virtual HBCU day, and we share that in the groups Black Women in Clinical Research and Black Men in Clinical Research. And that is on September 8th, where they will disclose possible career paths within the pharmaceutical industry. So thank you so much for sharing, Jacqueline. So this is another person. Her name is Destiny. She is, graduating a senior at Clark-Atlanta University. I don't know if you know this, Destiny, but I graduated from Clark-Atlanta University also. I'm interested in a career in clinical research as a physician. I plan on taking a gap year to get more patient care experience, shadowing, and clinical research exposure. What should I do to find opportunities to reach those goals? So I can answer, and Dr. Richmond can too. So we have a chapter in Georgia. And so definitely feel free to, I want to say how many people are in there. At least about 200 or 300 members are in the Georgia chapter. And we do have a lot of members. For example, Dr. Lovey, she has her own SMO in Atlanta. So really about reaching out to people and networking with the members that are in that area to see if you can shadow, like we were talking about earlier, or going on clinicaltrials.gov and finding clinics near you. But also a lot of times too, like PPD. PPD has a internship program for students. So looking at the different pharmaceutical companies and different CRO companies that have programs that are geared towards, college students, no matter if you're in undergrad or graduate school. So this will be good to reach out to these different companies, and I can share some links. We also have, I know we don't really advertise this as much, but we also have a college group that we have where we share different jobs for the college students. Dr. Richmond, did you want to add anything to this?
No, I don't have anything additional.
Okay. So another question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did put in the chat. It's called CERT now, the program that Danielle and I did at the University of Pittsburgh. Yep. So I put that there. And then I also put the Gilead, I just put the name of the Gilead Sciences Research College program. And I believe they have one for MDs, and then one for those interested in medicine or going into medicine or interested in research. So you can take a look at that as well.
I still have my ID, Dr. Richmond. I
Do
don't know.
you really?
Yes, I do. I don't know. It was one, his name was Dr. Sahu. I don't know if you were familiar with him, but it was like they told me, oh, if you did this program, your application to go to medical school would be free.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
let's see. What
And
else?
I think I might have interviewed at the University of Pittsburgh. I stayed in touch with, did you have Paula Davis? She was like the coordinator.
She sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. You also, when you do those programs, again, like I said, it's not always what you know, but who you know. And a lot of times your application will get put at the top of the pile if you participated in their programming.
Yeah, someone said some residency programs incorporate research activities. Someone else said the Rutgers Industry Fellowship Program has programs for physicians. They partner with 14 companies. So Alina said she is an MD from Trinidad. She hasn't done residency yet. Is there any role for international MDs in clinical research?
So you can, but it wouldn't be at the PI level, just because you have to have your license. So you have to be a practicing licensed physician to be able to be a PI. Now, what I would say is sometimes you have to, I'll give you an example, in between, a lot of this is like a blur, in between medical school and, excuse me, in between college and medical school, I took a year off. Long story, but I didn't have everything, all the courses I needed to take the MCAT. I didn't know. And that's how I ended up at the Medical Minority Enrichment Program. And in the meantime, when I finished that program, I had to work. So I worked at the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons. Go figure, I don't know. It was close to medicine. It was as close to medicine as I could get at that time with the degree, a BS in biology. So I say all of that to say is that you may have to you may have to look at other positions that are not necessarily PI, so that looking at being a CRC, because that will give you as an international graduate, that will give you an edge when it's time to apply for medical school. So that's just an example. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to do that, but I want to be a doctor. But sometimes you have to take a data entry position at the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons to take that step to get you to where you want to go. So that's what I would suggest.
Okay. So someone else says Johns Hopkins does allow more clinical research activity to support PI on NIH sponsored or industry sponsored research. And Rashida is responding to Destiny. She said to find hospitals and clinics in your area doing clinical research and connect with the physicians and staff on LinkedIn. Introduce yourself, what your goals are, and areas of research you're interested in. You can see what types of research studies they are conducting by going to clinicaltrials.gov. Someone's asking about typing the summer research program. It was called CERT. I know that it was summer undergraduate. Okay, summer undergraduate research program.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then also I know that when I was in my undergrad, Meharry had a program during that time. So I don't know. I know I've been out of college for a while, so I don't know if they're still doing that. But I remember at the time, Meharry did have a program for people that were interested in medical school to do for like the summer.
I'm sorry, I forgot. I will put that in the chat too. I believe they were a part of the Medical Minority Enrichment Program. They changed the name of it, so I'll look it up and I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. And Rashida says, another way physicians can talk to patients is by having examples of well-known drugs, Advil, Viagra, etc., and how they all had to get FDA approval through clinical trials and post-market research. Oh, and so it's a lot of messages. Oh my goodness. Okay. So my name on LinkedIn is Danielle S. Cole. And so, and Dr. Richmond, I can probably type mine in also. If you would like to contact us on LinkedIn, So people are saying, thank you so much, Dr. Richmond. Okay, it's a lot of thank yous. Okay, I was thinking
You're
that it was more.
welcome.
Yeah, okay, I think that's it.
Okay, they changed it. It used to be the Medical Minority Enrichment Program, but now it's called the Summer Health Professions Education Program. So I'll put that, I'll put that in the chat as well.
Okay. Jacqueline said summer medical and dental education programs allow you to shadow physicians during the summer. Okay, Tamia says she has one more question.
Yeah, so a lot of the programs that you guys are mentioning with like other colleges and universities, like the summer ones that you guys are talking about, being that just like the other student had mentioned before, I graduate in May. So like those summer programs aren't really like geared towards me since I kind of like waited so late. And so I was planning on taking a gap year before medical school, and wanted to be like a research assistant or something along the lines of that to kind of have the experience prior to medical school. So do you think, or do you have any other suggestions, I guess, to go that way? Because I feel like, I mean, I don't know because I've never been in that field or anything, but if you're applying to like a research assistant position and you have no experience, I feel like it would be kind of difficult to land a position that way. Do you think maybe there's another role that someone in my category could fit into? Or
so I know what Rashida had posted about going to the hospitals and telling the physicians what you're interested in and being very active on your LinkedIn. So a lot of times, what I've noticed in this industry, I would have to say, is that thinking outside of the box has made it to where I've been successful in the clinical research industry. So being assertive and reaching out to physicians and, doing your own research as far as looking up different clinics that are in your area. And for your therapeutic that you're interested in, say if you're interested in breast oncology, then going on clinicaltrials.gov and finding those studies that are doing breast oncology or whatever therapeutic that you're interested in or whatever medicine that you really want to focus. Just going on there and reaching out to people and letting them know, this is what I'm interested in. I want to gain that experience. I want to shadow. And so just putting yourself out there. And I know a lot of times, especially for me when I started, it's scary to think about, putting yourself out there and someone either doesn't respond, we'll say like this, they ghost you, which definitely does happen in this industry. But, just knowing that if someone is not receptive to you, that there's going to be someone else that is. So don't give up if someone, doesn't respond to you. There's plenty other people that will respond and that will help you. And so, and especially with the nature of the groups and how we have everything set up, we have created a family, like once we, I'm never going to forget Tamia because I've seen Tamia's face and, so it's going to be where I'm like, you know what? I'm on LinkedIn. I see someone that's, where are you located at, Tamia?
That's what I was going to ask.
I'm in Tallahassee at FAMU.
Okay. So, just, I'm the type of person I like to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So if I see someone on LinkedIn, I'll shoot you a message, be like, hey, you should connect with them. But definitely reaching out to people in the group if you're not a part of, Black Women in Clinical Research, and just connecting with as many people as you can and just telling them, this is what my interests are. And these are my goals, like Rashida was saying in the chat. And just, after this, make sure you connect with Dr. Richmond. She might know someone that's in Tallahassee that can help you.
But Danielle, don't forget the Black man. Well, thank you so much for putting this together.
Yes, we can't forget the Black men.
The Black men.
Yes, we cannot
forget
the Black men. The Black men in clinical research, the minorities in clinical research. We're really trying to build all of the groups up. I know we have cognac and conversations. I don't know if you ever attended the event, OB, but we do have that event. And so like we're really just trying to help everyone. We never want anyone to feel lost in this industry. And especially for me, when I had the bachelor's degree in biology and I was trying to figure out, well, what else can I do with this bachelor's degree in biology? Because pretty much the choices was, if you don't go to medical school, then you have to work in the lab. And I did the lab.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I was like, yes. So, I did the whole PCR, gel electrophoresis.
Yes,
I did
yes.
microbiology, all of the all of the smelly organisms and everything like
Mhm,
that.
mhm.
So, when clinical research came about and I was introduced, I immediately jumped on that because I knew working in the lab was not what I wanted to do for the rest of, my career. So, let me see.
That's what I learned at Pittsburgh. I was like, I cannot pipette not another day. Like, I just can't keep doing this. This can't be my life. But but for some people that they love it, like the lady that I work with in the lab, she absolutely loved it. But I was like, I need more people. I need some interaction. Like, this is driving me crazy. But it was a good experience. And to me, I also wanted to just come back to you too. So I know you said some of those programs are not geared towards you. But let me tell you, sometimes all it takes is a phone call. Hello, this is what's going on with me. Do you all have any other programs? Did somebody happen to drop out and you need to fill the spot? I'll come, because you will need to be able to, when it's time to apply for medical school, if you're going to be doing clinical research, being flexible, that you may have to go and stay somewhere else for a few weeks or whatever. And so I would say, just start reaching out, be assertive. I mean, not aggressive, but be assertive. And that also is going to take you a long way in your career. Again,
Yeah.
closed mouths don't get fed.
Right, exactly. So one last, I guess, a comment. DeAndrea said, it's been difficult finding opportunities for those of us who graduated from U.S. med school, but unable to get into residency. I'm trying to use my MD knowledge by thinking outside the box with a research career.
I think that's fantastic. I think being able to go the clinical research path, if I had known then what I know now, I would have done the same thing. Or even when I took a year off and during during undergrad and medical school. And then again, I took a year off in between medical school and residency, and that's when I pursued my master's of public health. But if I knew what I know now, I probably would have. Oh, to me, there is two things. Cheyenne Burry, she goes to FAMU, so y'all need to connect. And then two, consider something like getting a phlebotomy certification. With medical pre-meds, don't think about that. Think about that, because it will make you more marketable when you're trying to get into the research, because you can draw blood and be a part of the process because you have that skill. So I always say, if you have time off, figure out something that's a skill, and not only a skill, but a skill that can help you into different areas, and then you can still use it when you're in medical school.
Yep, that's great advice. Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, I think we're good. I know we're a little bit over on the time. Definitely want to be conscious. I know it's 9 o'clock at night.
It's over.
Yes, it is. It has come to an end. So I just want to thank you so much, Dr. Richmond, for
Absolutely.
For this event and letting everyone know about why it's important and why people should consider a career in why physicians should consider a career in clinical research. And this has been great advice. I always feel like even when I do this, I learn something new, myself. And so I hope everyone has taken notes, and please feel free to reach out. I think if everyone wants to, I think the best way to connect is by putting your LinkedIn. So if you want to drop your LinkedIn in the chat so that other people can reach out to you, please feel free to, put your LinkedIn in. I feel like the best way is to connect with other people, especially in this industry. We have to create this family atmosphere so that, a lot of times it is about who you know. So connecting with people. And thank you guys so much. I'll leave this on for a few minutes if anyone wants to put their LinkedIn in the chat so that we can connect with each other. And especially if you haven't joined Black Women in Clinical Research, Black Men in Clinical Research, or Minorities in Clinical Research, please feel free to join. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, not on TikTok yet, but we're gonna get there. But I'm gonna say Dr. Richmond, Dr. Richmond. I don't know y'all. I don't know if y'all seen this, but Dr. Richmond dances. I watch all her dance. I watch all her dance videos that she has. So
oh, thank you.
Definitely follow Dr. Richmond if you haven't on Instagram. Okay.
No, thank y'all so much. And again, it's been a pleasure. And somebody said they never fully created their LinkedIn and took it serious. Yes, Tamia. Where's Tamia? Yeah.
Tamia. Create that LinkedIn. That's where, the recruiters, and that's where people that's where they at.
That's where they're at.
Yeah, that's where they're at. They are
Mhm.
there. The recruiters are there all the time making posts, and that's where you want to connect with. You want to make sure that your LinkedIn is up to date. And I'm just throwing in a little plug there. We do have LinkedIn services. If you need your LinkedIn up to date, we can help you. Okay, and someone said they have a resume review appointment in 2 weeks. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone. Please follow us on LinkedIn. Oh yes, people are dropping their LinkedIn information. Okay, so I'll just leave the chat up a little bit if people want to drop it in, but thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.